You see them everywhere you look. Far more socially and physically active than any previous generation in history, they also carry unparalleled financial influence on society. Yet, over the course of the past several decades, as they enter the 50 and over club, they have gone from being the most coveted consumer in the world to being perceived and portrayed in the media as unsexy, obsolete, and unprofitable. How did the most sought after and valuable consumer on the planet become the invisible customer with all the money? To answer this requires telling a new story about the 50-plus consumer. This is where a storytelling magician comes in.
Hi, I'm Joanie Marx. I'm a three-time international best-selling author and the creator of 3 acclaimed online courses for Udemy.com. And this is the first of a 7-part series on the invisible customer with all the money. And it's based on nearly 15 years of my research. And some of the material in this series are edited excerpts from the first chapter I wrote for The Expert's Cure, which is a Wall Street Journal and USA Today best-selling book. And long before that, with only $20 and a ball of string, I started a multi-million-dollar consumer product company. And I've also enjoyed over 30 years in Hollywood as a character actress, brand spokesman, and independent producer. And each chapter of my life was created by being a storytelling magician. If you want a new and better world, you begin by telling a new and better story. But how do you write such a story that redefines the way we perceive ourselves? This 7-part video series on the invisible customer with all the money will show you how. So let's get started with who is the invisible customer with all the money?
They go by many names: baby boomers, Generation X, the 50-plus consumer. Whatever name is applied, for reasons you will soon come to understand, they are the invisible customer with all the money. Once upon a time, when they were young, the invisible customer with all the money was the most coveted consumer in the world. From the time they were in their teens to 50 and over, their purchasing power and influence in nearly every major consumer market increased to unparalleled levels. Then something very odd happened. Emotionally relevant messaging and relatable likeness to this audience drastically decreased across all forms of media. When the 50-plus consumer was shown in campaigns, they were presented as bumbling fools for comedic relief or portrayed as old, barely mobile, and unsexy.
It's true that statistics play an important part in understanding the 50-plus consumer, but in order to rewrite the story of aging and consumerism, we must look beyond just the numbers. Mark Twain once famously said, "There are 3 kinds of lies. There are lies, damn lies, and then there are statistics." As valuable as statistics and data can be, they can be manipulated to fit a narrative. Or in this case, statistics can be ignored because they don't fit the narrative being told through the media about those who are 50 plus in society. Despite all the data available on the invisible customer with all the money, their emotional and physical reality remains distorted and grossly misunderstood. Not only that, but when it comes to how they are portrayed in the media, they are misrepresented at best and nearly invisible at worst. Here are some general perceptions of the 50-plus consumer: who our children think we are, who brands think we are, who art thinks we are, who Big Pharma thinks we are, who we think we are, and who we really are. But don't just take my word for it. In upcoming videos in the 7-part series, I will share startling facts about the exclusion and the misrepresentation of the 50-plus consumer. How is an audience of this size, diversity, and financial power invisible? That's what I wanted to find out nearly 15 years ago. But how did I get involved with this? I opened a door to a restaurant because I was having a reunion luncheon with two of my sorority sisters. My sorority sister had been widowed for a time, and so during the course of the lunch, I said to her, "So, how's your new life going?" And she said, "What new life? I haven't had a facelift. I don't have money to pursue a suitor, so there is no Prince Charming in my life." I looked at her. I couldn't believe it. This is my sorority big sister. And I still looked up to her. And here she was, attractive, vivacious. And this is what she thought the view of what her life is and was going to be. I turned to look at my other friend who was busy eating her salad and nodded in agreement with that dire assessment. I had my mouth open and my fork full of food was suspended in mid-air. I left that luncheon that day determined to do something. I was outraged that this was happening to someone I really cared about. But I didn't know exactly what I was going to do. So the first thing I did was say, "Joan, you got to channel your energy. If you want to change your sorority sister's story and you want to do a new narrative about people our age, the 50-plus consumer." So what did I do? I sat down and I thought to myself, how will I do this? And I said, well, there's 3 things that I absolutely know about myself. 1, I am a storytelling magician, and I can weave a new, compelling, true, and exciting story about who this consumer is. And 2, I'm a professional actress and a brand spokesperson. I do have the talent to do this. And 3, I am tenacious and driven to have my desires come true and be successful. So I knew that I would have the staying power for this. I was inspired by my sorority sister's story and by how wrong and neglected I was as part of the 50-plus consumers. And so I started a baby boomer advocacy campaign. And I started it by writing, producing, and starring in a 3-part spec commercial for McDonald's to show them who really their customers are and how to present the value of their restaurants to this huge market. So I called these 3 commercials the McGranny Secret. And the McGranny Secret was about how McGranny, this happy, cheerful person, would go to the drive-thru at McDonald's and make everything she did there and when she came home special and festive, and it was filled with love and joy and laughter. And so this is really how we are as a 50-plus consumer. Clearly, I was not alone in wanting to see a new story told about the 50-plus consumers. And during this last decade, my work was supported by personal experiences and underscored by extensive market research into what psychological and economic conditions created the invisible customer with all the money. My research, which included discovering the 7 myths of love and happiness, 2 tales emerged from the same story. One tale came from inside Wall Street and the other from the heart of human beings.
In part 2 of this series on the invisible customer with all the money, you will learn more about the 7 myths of love and happiness and how the media uses these myths to convince people that being 50 and over means that you are old, obsolete, and unsexy. To underscore this, Joanie will reveal a real-life experience on the set of a national commercial where she was asked to be more feeble while playing a grandmother in her 60s. How can Joanie Marx improve your brand loyalty with the 50-plus consumer? As a brand story advisor to the 50-plus market, as your brand spokeswoman to the 50-plus market, online workshop for your team on the 50-plus consumer, and a project that includes all 3 of these options. To arrange a complimentary consultation or book Joanie for an engaging interview on your podcast, email her today at joanie@joaniemarx.com.